Hi, I'm Katie Journals and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about CC+, what is it, how you can do it, and I have a bunch of advice from students and even from my mom, who is a teacher who taught me the past year doing CC+, and lots of advice and tips for you guys. So if you enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe down below. I make tons of CC+ videos and CC, and so if you're interested in any of those topics, then make sure to subscribe. Also share with your CC community so that everyone can be well educated on CC+. Alright, let's get started. Hello, my name is Katie and I have done CC+ for 1 year. I did it at the beginning of Challenge 2 and I'm going to be doing it again for Challenge 3. I did CC+ because my older brother had done CC+, and it wasn't really cut out for him, so I wanted to see if I'd be interested in doing CC+ classes. I did like the idea of having college credit, but I mostly liked the idea of getting a grade. Not that my mom doesn't give me a grade, but it has been hard for her to keep up, and I loved the idea of knowing, getting better at the papers that I write and getting better grades. I want to be continuing because I like the CC+ classes, I love the professors. I felt like I really grew over this past year with the papers that I wrote, and so I would love to increase my writing skills as well as algebra and Latin. Those are all the 3 classes I took, so I'd like to increase my skills in those subjects. The CC classes that I took were Western Culture History, Algebra, and Latin. For Western Culture History, I wrote art essays comparing 2 paintings, either the same artist or different artists from the same time period. And I started off the year with 70s, and then I ended the year with 100%. So you can just see how much I've grown and how much the professors have really invested in the papers. I also submitted a timeline for the spring semester and for the fall semester. And I submitted reflection questions, which were about the videos How Should We Then Live by Schaefer. And the reflection questions, you really worked on being concise and short with your words. And with that one, I feel like I did grow so much in writing small papers instead of writing with a lot of words. For algebra, I submitted math tests. It wasn't every math test. I would say every 5 there was a break. So I do tests 1 through 5 and then take a break for test 6 and then test 7 through whatever. For Latin, I submitted my exercises. It wasn't all of them, and 99% of them were Latin to English, which I loved so much. I was a little nervous if they were going to do English to Latin, and they didn't end up doing any of that. I did 1 exercise the whole year that was English to Latin to English. No, English to Latin. So, and then I also submitted a vocabulary quiz, and that was multiple choice. So you were given, bella, spell, and then it would give you 3 answers for the English. And the vocabulary was a little harder than I expected. Sometimes there was those words where it was which was an adverb, and then there was 5 other words that were the same meaning, and that got a little tricky because all of them had the same answers, and anyways. Okay, something I wish I knew when I started, that you should be working on your papers a week ahead of time, so that way on the week that it's due, you're not rushing to get it done and then submitting it the night of. I definitely struggled a lot more in the beginning of the semester with, I used to submit it on the dot midnight, because it was due on Saturday night at midnight, and I would submit it right on the dot. The instructors actually weren't strict. I only did 1 delayed submission, and that was I submitted it on a Sunday, and I got so nervous about if I was going to be getting a bad grade because it was delayed. And she was actually super nice about it. I just sent her an email and said, blah, blah, blah. Also for algebra Latin, I accidentally submitted the assignment for the next week instead of the week that they were on. And so I just emailed her up, and then I sent the thing the next week. And everything was fine. So they're actually super understanding instructors, which I was really thankful for. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so something I wish I knew was to be working on your assignments a week ahead of time so you're not submitting the night of. Maybe submit it the day before, so that way you have a little wiggle room. If you didn't get it done the day it's due, then you can at least have a Saturday. So definitely be working ahead. The biggest learning curve. Probably writing the papers was a big learning curve. if you have gone through Essentials and you're changing to CC Plus now, Essentials has you write a 5-paragraph outline and you're writing in 3 words, blah, blah, blah. You're always adding adjectives and adverbs and, conjunctions and all this stuff in ing verbs. That is not what I was doing at all in Western culture history. It was supposed to be short and concise, says few words as possible. So you're not writing a keyword outline with all these things on it. You're writing it as concise as you can in like 100 or 200 words, and that was a little hard to learn. So if you are a CC student, and also the comparison essay kind of has the same idea, where you're writing down a lot of things onto a 5-paragraph essay, but writing them concisely was something that I learned in CC Plus especially. Tips or advice for students. Advice, be keeping up with your scheduling so you don't get behind, or I had a little calendar that I always wrote all the assignments on, and you're like assigned to a group and then it's in the calendar. And so there's a lot of big things to be keeping track of, especially if you're taking 3 classes like I did, and there's a bunch of different assignments. So keeping a calendar is a great plan for keeping up with what stuff is due and what projects are due. So that's all I'm going to share for you now, and now let's get into all of the other CC Plus students.
Hello, my name is Leilani, and I just completed Challenge 3 over the 2021 to 2022 school year. I've taken a total of 5 CC Plus classes in the past 2 years, so Challenge 2 and Challenge 3. And I started to do CC Plus in sophomore year because I was very excited about the idea of earning college credit as a sophomore, and also getting my work evaluated by a professor. And obviously CC Plus is a great opportunity for that. CC Plus classes that I've taken over the years include sophomore year, I took Western Cultural History, Latin, and British Literature. And then in junior year, I took Music Theory and American History. A big difference between those 2 years is Challenge 2, you'll submit your work through a platform like Canvas, and you don't have a student ID number or a student email or anything like that. And then Challenge 3, you get moved over to Southeastern University, which is based in Lakeland, Florida, and you get access to all their resources, to their platform where you submit your work called MyFire. You get a student ID, you get a student email, and that's one difference.
Hi, welcome to Editing Katie. So I'm going to be stating the facts. As of fall 2022, we are CC Plus changed it from using Canvas in Challenge 2 to now using the SEU program in Challenge 2 as well. So all the part where she talked about Challenge 2 being on Canvas is actually incorrect, and everything now is on SEU, which she did in Challenge 3.
And another difference is the course credit distribution. In sophomore year, you earn credit for 2 semesters of work, like 3 or 4 credit hours. In junior year, you earn 3 or 4 credit hours. I'm fairly sure it's 3 over the course of 1 semester. So those are just 2 differences I'd like to point out for those of you who are going into Challenge 3 next year. The Challenge 3 courses that I took were American History and Music Theory. Music Theory, we just submitted bi-weekly exercise worksheets that the professor would compile based on whatever chapters we were reading over the course of those weeks. So we would submit those every 2 or 3 weeks, and then at the end of the semester we had to submit the video of our score analysis, and that was the breaking down of a piece that we chose. I think one of mine was Blessed Assurance, and you just look at the harmonies, you look at the intervals, the timing, you name it, and it was just really cool to be able to submit like music theory. I'm a musician, and it was really cool to take a music theory class and earn college credit for it. American History, we did an array of essays, speeches, and a timeline. So I think we had 3 essays. And another difference between Challenge 2 and Challenge 3 is for your, this is our debate strand. In CC Plus Challenge 2, you are given very specific prompts that you have to answer based on how should we then live. But in Challenge 3, you are given a specific time period, and you get to choose any event, person, place, thing, idea within that time period and write about it. So that was really fulfilling, just to be able to be like, oh, this person's really cool. I want to write about them. So I think I did one on George Whitefield and another one on Alexander Hamilton, and I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 essays. But I know I definitely did those 2 guys. I also had to submit 2 video presentations. One of them was at the beginning of the year. I think it was an expository speech. I wrote mine on the philosophers that helped shape American government, the 3 branches. And then you also have to submit a 1AC for your Lincoln Douglas debate. And then lastly, you have a timeline, and it's just 100 events with 50-word descriptions from the book that you'll read. And I think you choose 3 to highlight at the end. So those are the 2 classes that I took in the fall. Something I wish I knew when I started CC Plus is that although it sounds really intimidating and it sounds really scary taking college courses, it's really not. The professors all just want you to do your best. They're always trying to help you and give you the best feedback that they can. Sometimes you'll get feedback and you won't necessarily love it because you're like, oh, I tried my best and it just didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. But you learn from it. And ultimately that will build your confidence as a writer, as a student, and as a person. So if anyone's thinking about doing CC Plus, if they're on the fence about it, I encourage you to just do it. Because when you put the effort in, it's rewarding. It teaches you how to improve your writing, how to interact with professors, because that is really important. And also, it just validates you as a student and as a writer. You'll definitely learn how to formulate better thoughts, because some of the questions and some of the topics that you have to write about are really very deep and very, there's a lot of substance to them. So doing CC Plus just gives you, honestly, a better worldview on how does my writing apply to the things around me, and how can I apply my writing to the things that matter to me. So, if you're thinking of doing CC Plus, do it. You won't regret it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bahara, and I was a part of the Challenge 3 program this past fall. I have been doing CC Plus for 2 years now. I started my sophomore year. I decided to do CC Plus because ever since I was a kid, I never wanted to do all 4 years of college. I knew I wanted to at least knock out 1 or 2 years. And so when we learned about CC Plus, and they gave us the opportunity to gain college credit, and so I knew immediately this is what I had to do. And I also wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to get a taste of college and see what it would be like. I took 4 CC Plus classes this past year. I took American History 1 and 2, Fundamentals of Speech, and Fundamentals of Music Theory. American History 1 and 2, they had similar coursework. You have to send in essays based off of what you've read throughout the book. We read A Patriot's History of the United States. They'll give you a prompt, and then you have to write an essay. What else did we have to do? We had to submit, I think there were 2 videos on speeches and debates. And at the end of the year, for both classes, you need to submit a timeline with 100 events. Those are difficult. I don't recommend you wait until the last minute to do those like how I did. Start them early in the year. For Fundamentals of Speech, there were only 3 assignments, believe it or not. And they were all just videos that you have to send in of different speeches. And those speeches were from literature, and I believe one was from American history as well. For Fundamentals of Music Theory, it was a little different. She had worksheets that you had to fill out, and you send them in. Something I wish I knew when I started CC Plus was that not every class is going to be as easy as I thought it was. I mean, I knew that coming into it, my essays weren't very strong. and this kind of ties in with the second question of what is the biggest learning curve. My essays weren't strong when I first went in. I wasn't expecting the best grades in the world, but when I got my first grade, I think it was like a 75 out of 100, and I was heartbroken. I mean, the professor literally had like a paragraph of corrections that I had to do, but honestly, I owe a lot of it to him. A lot of my growth in my essays because of him, because his criticism, it was constructive criticism, of course, and I really took that and I worked on it. And this year, my essays have become so much better. I'm getting much better grades on my essays. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of times you get a lot of criticism from teachers. It's not easy and you don't enjoy it because you do put a lot of effort into your essays and other work, and sometimes it just doesn't come back as a good grade. But it's all for learning. It's all for your growth. And one thing that I've learned is that different professors like different writing styles. I mean, in Foundations and Essentials and Beginning Challenge levels, they teach you can use an exordium and you can put a quote as your exordium. But this year my professor said, no, you can't use that. Like, it weakens your essay. So, every professor has their different writing style. You may need to be flexible. So that's another thing. You got to be flexible with it. Some tips or advice I would give to the students thinking about doing a CC+. I would say definitely do it. It's a challenge. You're challenging yourself. It's not going to be totally easy. It's a lot of work at first, but this year was a lot easier. Another thing I would say is make sure to at least take one math and one English class. Those are going to help you in college, because I took the SAT in March and I scored low on my math, but I scored high in my reading and writing. So I went to a college, Harper College, it's a community college, and I wanted to get, my gen ed classes there. I was talking to the advisor and she said that, okay, because you scored kind of low on your math SAT, you would need to take a placement test. And I was like, wait, I took a college algebra class my sophomore year to college credit. Can I do that instead? And she said yes. So definitely take those, because you never know when you're going to need them. And plus, those are pretty much automatic college credits. I doubt many colleges would not accept them. Although I know it's kind of difficult to know what your career is going to be as a sophomore, but try to figure out what you want to do so you're not spending money on classes that you don't need. I mean, you definitely want to take classes that will benefit you for the future. My final thoughts are, like I said, take CC Plus classes. They will help you. You grow a lot with them. You learn a lot. And it'll help you in the long run. You're working hard now, but it'll be easier for the future. And yeah, those are my CC Plus answers, I guess, is my experience with it. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Elenanieves, and I just finished Challenge 2. So, I did 1 year of CC Plus, and the class I did was Western Cultural History. This class in itself was rather interesting. We talked about different works of art and we described them and what they meant and how this was relevant to the artist and what the artist was trying to say through his art. It was rather interesting. Something I wish I knew about this class was, number one, how to describe something in as little words as possible, because I ramble a lot. So when it came to trying to learn how to compress all of my feelings and thoughts into 500 words, it was not as easy as it sounds. Another thing I recommend you learn before taking this class would be formatting, because I didn't know how to format correctly because I did not originally come from a CC background. I came from public school, which they don't really teach you formatting in public school. So if you are like me, coming in through public school, then learn how to format. It will help you so much. One last thing that I do wish that I knew was that we would be analyzing a lot of Schaeffer's text. Schaeffer from How Then Should We Live? He wrote a book, and we would be analyzing a lot of his text, and I didn't really know how to do that. So maybe, I don't know, do some research or something like that to help you prepare for that. Some tips that I also have would be to realize firsthand that your teacher will not have one-on-one time with you, because this is online learning and the teacher will try their best. My teacher did try her best, where she would text me, she would say, hey, you know, this is what you're doing wrong, da 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 da, but I didn't really get it. I was a little hollow-minded at the time. So when you have to understand that your teacher's not going to be able to call you and be like, hey, so she will not be able to thoroughly explain this to you. Also, the grading system is a little rough. It was a little hard for me because, you know, I didn't understand anything. But in the end, I ended up getting it. So don't worry, guys. All right. So that's all I have for you guys. All right. Bye.
My name is Elizabeth Liska, and I have been through Challenge A through 2 with my children. I have had a child in Challenge and CC Plus for the last 2 years. Classes. My eldest son took a British Lit and he survived. We realized that he probably wasn't going the college route. My Challenge 2 daughter this year took Western Civilization, Algebra 2, and Latin and did fantastic. So we decided to go with CC Plus for our family because I loved the idea of getting college credit for the same thing that you're doing for your high school credit. And I also was really looking forward to having a professor bring more input into our education. And I thought it was reasonably priced to be able to get 3 credit hours. I was happy with the price. So CC Plus requires a little bit different syllabus than the Challenge 2 syllabus guide. And so as a parent, I decided that my kids would do what CC Plus required as their class for the fall, spring, versus doing everything that the CC guide required and CC Plus. But every parent can kind of like do what they want to do for that. For British Lit, that required my son to read about half of the books and do the papers that went with those books. We decided that our son was probably not cut out for the college route per se, at least at this season of his life. But my daughter is going to be pursuing more of the CC Plus classes through SEU. We are still, we were able to talk to the CC Plus guidance counselor to kind of give us an idea of like transferring credits and which credits will transfer and which colleges, and it sounds like until we know which college she's going to be pursuing, we won't know how these credits transfer, if they transfer well. That's something that we're going to get to see down the road a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm thankful for this opportunity to get dual enrollment. One of the things that I would say has been a success in our CC Plus class is knowing other families who have done these CC Plus classes in the past. So we kind of tapped in at some point when we were struggling to get above a certain grade level to other moms and classmates who have done this program before and what is working to increase their grade. So it was really helpful to have a community to help us in this journey of CC Plus. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to the end of the video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned so much about CC Plus, what it's about in classes, and you heard a little bit from my mom, so you get a little mom perspective in there. And if you want to be checking out CC Plus, I will leave the link down below so you can check out the website, see the prices, see what classes are available for your challenge grade. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe down below and share with your CC communities who are also wondering about CC Plus.